Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dare to Soar with me, Dr. RC, where we educate, empower, and inspire, as well as encourage meaningful conversations that will help you grow personally, professionally, and collectively. That is always my goal. I am your host once again, Dr. RC, and as always, I want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to spend your time with me on this Saturday morning. Oh, I hope you're doing wonderful. Before we begin today's conversation, I'd just like to share a brief reminder. And the reminder is concerning today's show. But let me give you the title. Invisible does not mean insignificant. And I want to give you a little bit more behind that. While feeling seen matters more than we think. I want you to let that land for a moment. The information shared during today's episode is intended to educate, encourage, and support your overall well being. While we're discussing topics related to emotional wellness, self worth, and feeling seen, this conversation is not a substitute for professional mental health care or individualized treatment. If you find yourself feeling sadness or hopelessness, anxiety or emotional distress, and becoming overwhelmed or feeling or it's interfering with your daily life, I want to encourage you to reach out to a trusted healthcare provider or licensed mental health professional seeking support and a sign of strength is a sign of strength. I don't want you to feel that it's anything negative. And I don't want you to feel that you're alone in this process also. So, with that being said, let's begin. I want to share today's conversation with one simple question. Have you ever felt invisible? Now, because people couldn't feel physically seen, because they don't seem to notice you in effort, your sacrifices, your kindness, leadership, resilience, your quiet acts of service. And perhaps you've shown up day after day, giving your very best. You've encouraged others while carrying those burdens. You've been supported by your families. You've led teams, serviced your community, cared for students if you're in that line of work, checked on everyone else. Yet somehow along the way, you've quietly wondered, does anyone really see me? Well, today, I see you. I believe that question is more common than we often realize because every one of us has a fundamental desire that we matter today, that we belong, to know that our lives have purpose. Today's conversation isn't about seeking attention. No, it's about acknowledgement. It's about connections. It's about belonging as well. And that's important. It's about understanding why feeling seen matters, not only to our relationships, but also emotional well being, and that we always see ourselves in that light. Now, let's have some important distinctions. Feeling invisible is a human experience, it's not a diagnosis. And it does not automatically lead to anxiety or depression or low self esteem either. However, when people repeatedly feel overlooked, dismissed, or undervalued, especially without meaningful support, those experiences can have influx of confidence, increase emotional stress, and shape the stories we begin telling ourselves about our own worth. That's why this conversation today is so vitally important. And that's why I wanted to bring it forward because I feel that way. Because we cannot always control whether others recognize our efforts. We can't. We can only control ourselves. We learn how to protect our mental wellness, and that's key. We strengthen our healthy self esteem. We can choose how we care for ourselves and the same compassion we feel freely with others. And perhaps more importantly, we can become the kind of people who intentionally help others feel seen as well. Throughout today's episode, we'll explore why belonging matters, how feeling unseen can affect our emotional well being also one of practical strategies for protecting our peace, simply each other, and meaningful differences in our lives. Because sometimes our encouraging words, sincere thank yous, thoughtful conversations can remind someone that have been forgotten that they matter. So if you've ever questioned your worth because of those efforts, I want you to know you're in the right place at the right time. If you ever wondered about their contributions and the differences, this conversation is for you. And I want you to remember that. Invisible doesn't mean insignificant. So when we return, we're going to get started. I'll be right back after this commercial break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back. I am so excited that each and every one of you are tuning in. I hope that you had that opportunity to get that coffee, that water, that tea that's relaxing you. And if you're taking a walk, enjoy the walk and continue to tune in with this conversation. Invisible doesn't mean insignificant. Let that land, hold on to that. But also, while feeling seen matters more than we think, I want to continue on with our conversation as I delve into this next segment. Why feeling seen matters. I want to just let that or allow that to ring in with you. And as I begin this conversation or start it up again with something we don't often talk about, and it really needs to be discussed, tap into that emotional connection in our wellness or our well being. Most of us spend our lives wanting to be successful. We all do that. That's human nature. We want to be respected, absolutely. We want to make a difference. That's something we think about often, all the time. But underneath all of those things, the desire is something even more fundamental, if you will. We want to know that we matter. Who doesn't? Let's be real about that. But not because it is a constant um, need for attention. And I won't say that because everyone has a balance to them. And not because we want to get recognition for everything that we do either, but because every human being has a deep desire to feel seen, heard, valued in some sense or another. To know that our presence, it makes a difference. in someone's lives. Whether it's to make someone smile or laugh, whatever that level is for you. Think about that for a moment. I want you to just ponder over that. Can you remember a time when someone truly made you feel seen? Just think about that just for a little second there. Perhaps it was a teacher who you believed or helped you to believe in yourself. Thinking about those formative years, and then you can move on. Or a coach who encouraged you, a supervisor who recognized your hard work, a friend who noticed that you were struggling without you ever saying a word. Or maybe it was someone who just simply remembered your name, thanked you for your efforts, asked you a simple question, how you really felt about that. Chances are you still remember that moment. And ask yourself why. Why did I remember that moment? Why did that stick in my brain? Because you see, moments like that remind us that we matter. They remind us that, what else? Someone noticed me, someone cared. Someone looked at a time to see us as an individual, not simply for what we do, but for who we are. The opposite is also true. Most of us can remember times when we felt overlooked as well, when we felt dismissed, ugh, when we had ideas that weren't acknowledged. You can think about times you may have been sitting at a meeting or, thought of an idea, if you will, jumped in a conversation that you had input. I don't want to go too deep in that because I want to stick to the topic of what we're talking about, but I have to throw those things out there to give those reflective moments. We noticed that there were moments those moments stay with us. They stay with us very well. They stick with us because on those moments of silence and meditation, they pop back in your brain so quickly. But because we're seeking applause about them, but they just come back into your soul, so to speak. But because we're feeling unseen can sometimes leave us questioning our place, our value, or whether our efforts really make a difference. Now, I want to make some important distinctions also, because you see, feeling unseen from time to time is a normal part of being because we're human beings. We're human, we're in human flesh. Every one of us will experience moments when we feel overlooked. Yes, it's going to happen. If it hasn't yet, um, eventually it will. That doesn't mean that something is wrong with us. No, that's not what Dr. RC is saying. So I don't want anyone to have that takeaway. I want to be clear about that. It doesn't mean that we're insignificant either. And it certainly doesn't mean that your worth has changed either. It just simply means or reminds us how deeply we all are we long for connections. You see, research in psychology consistently shows us that a sense of belonging and meaningful relationships are closely connected to emotional well being. People who experience supportive relationships and feel connections to others often report greater resilience, improved life satisfactions, and better overall well being. While feeling overlooked from time to time is a common human experience, belonging and connection can help buffer life's experiences and remind us that we are not alone. Think about it. Think about that for a moment. Belonging isn't about being included, it's about being accepted. It's about knowing that we don't have to harm or earn value. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to become someone else to deserve respect or compassion. You matter simply because you are human. Unfortunately, we live in a world that often sends a different message, and we do. Social media tells us our value is measured by likes, followers. The workplace may tell us our value is determined by our productivity, and society may suggest that our importance is connected to our title, income, or accomplishments. But those are external measures. They can change. Your title can change, which it does. Your position certainly can change, and your circumstances can change as well. But your worth should never change, never be dependent upon those things. That's why it's so important to separate who you are from what we do. Because if we begin believing that our value is determined only by our performances or our recognition, our success, then every disappointment begins to feel personal. Over every overlooked contribution begins to feel like rejection, and we don't want that because there's that negative energy begins to set inside, and every unanswered effort begins to make questions of ourselves. Instead, I want you to begin thinking differently. Rather than asking, did anyone notice what I did? Ask yourself, did I live according to my values today? Did I show kindness, integrity? Did I make a positive difference? Before we move on, I'd like to take one moment to reflect. Who has helped you feel seen during an important season in your life? Hold on to that. It's time for a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again. Yes, it is me, Dr. RC, or it is I, Dr. RC. And of course, you're tuned into Dare to Soar. Invisible doesn't mean insignificant. And why feeling seen matters more than we think. Right before the break, I left you with that who question, and I hope you had an opportunity to really think about it as well. I want to dive right back in as we head into our next segment. And within this next segment, I wanted to ponder over it as I titled it, because I'd like you to have something to dig into. So the title of this next segment is When We Begin to Feel Invisible. And with that being said, as we ended that last segment, I did leave you with a thought, as I said. Feeling unseen is a human experience, and I want to just tap into a little bit of it. But we must be careful not to allow those moments to convince us that we are invisible to ourselves. And I want to be clear about that. And that's just kind of a wrap up of what that last segment was about. So as we move on, I want to talk about why that matters. Why that matters. Life has a way of presenting us with experiences that challenge how we see ourselves. And of course, I can't see you, but I can feel you. I can always feel your energy. And I like to put that out there. Perhaps you worked hard on a project that no one acknowledged. And I'll use that as an example. Maybe you haven't spent years caring for your maybe you spent years caring for your family, only to feel your sacrifices have gone unnoticed. Perhaps you've spoken up in a meeting, and oftentimes that can happen as well, only to have your ideas overlooked. And I'm just giving a few scenarios here. Individually, those experiences may seem small, but when they happen repeatedly, they can begin to influence the stories we tell ourselves. And that's just the reality of it. Those stories often sound like this: maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe what I did doesn't matter. Maybe no one really cares. That self talk really gets to you sometimes. But here's what I want you to remember: those are thoughts, not facts. I want you to hold on to that just for a second. I don't want that to be embedded in you, but I just want you to think about that for just for a second. You see, our thoughts are powerful, and they are, but they are not always accurate. Sometimes they're shaped by disappointment, comparison, or past experiences that influence how we interpret the present. As a social worker, one of the things I've learned is that many people extend grace to everyone except themselves. True. We encourage ourselves, we celebrate the successes, we remind them of their strengths. Yet, when we experience disappointment, we often become our own hardest critics. True, it is. See, research has shown that practicing self comparison is associated with greater emotional resilience and healthier psychological well being as well. In other words, the way we speak to ourselves matters, and it does. So pay attention to your inner dialogue. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough, nobody noticed me, eventually those thoughts can begin to shape the way you see yourself. That's why we must be intentional about protecting our inner voice. Now, let's talk about comparison. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to lose sight of your own journey. We often compare our everyday lives to someone else's highest reel, forgetting that we rarely see the challenges, sacrifices, and setbacks behind their success. Instead of asking, why aren't I where they are? Ask yourself, am I becoming the person I want to be? Because growth isn't competition, it's a journey. Now, if today's conversation resonates deeply with you, if been experiencing persistent sadness, anxiety, loneliness, or emotional distress that feels difficult to manage, please know there is strength in reaching out for support. And seriously, it is. I want to be very straightforward about that. Talking with a trusted friend, healthcare provider, a licensed mental health professional can be an important step towards healing, because conversations like this can be very heavy. And I want to be very transparent about that. I take this very seriously. People, before we move forward on, I'd like you to reflect on two questions. When I experience disappointment, what story do I begin telling myself? Is that story based on facts or assumptions? Here's a Dare to Soar practice. This week, pay attention to your self talk. I want you to do that. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm not enough, pause and ask, is this thought helping me to grow? Or is it causing me to doubt my worth? Then replace it with something more true. I may not always receive recognition, but my contributions still matter. I, I am growing, learning, and I'm doing the best I can. You see, those small shifts seem simple, but over time, they can help reshape the way we think about ourselves. As we continue this conversation, we explore why feeling unseen can influence our thoughts. The next question becomes, how do we protect our mental wellness and our sense of self when life becomes invisible? And I want to continue on by diving into protecting your mental wellness because that is key and that's important. So far, we have gone and delved into why feeling seen matters and how repeated experiences or feeling overlooked can influence the way we think about ourselves. And that's where I'm headed next. But it's time for another commercial break. So I'm going to delve into that and dive into that when we return from this commercial.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
I have returned, Dr. RC. That's me. As yes, this is Dare to Soar. Oh my gosh, this conversation, I know that you're getting something from it. I truly hope, and as I always said, and I've realized that I haven't said that this time, those notebooks. I hope that you're taking notes, copious notes, because this information, some nuggets are being dropped that I truly, truly hope that you find helpful um, with this conversation. Invisible doesn't mean insignificant. I want to continue on because this hour goes so quickly. Right before the break, protecting your mental wellness, and I shared some information about that. As I said, so far we've talked about why feeling seen matters and how repeated experiences or feeling overwhelmed can influence why we think about how we think about ourselves or how about the way we think about ourselves. So as we talk about that or go into that, I want to go ahead and move forward with that. How do we protect our mental wellness when life makes us feel invisible? So here we go. Let's push forward or push into that conversation. The first thing I want you to remember is this: you cannot always control how other people respond to you, but you can influence how you care about yourself. Protecting your mental wellness isn't about ignoring your feelings or just pretending everything is okay. It's about intentionally caring for yourself with the same compassion you so often give to everyone else. And we all have to be reminded of this from time to time, and sometimes more often than not. Let me share 4 practices that can help. First, establish healthy boundaries. Woo! That's a big one. You don't have to say yes to everything or everyone. You see, healthy boundaries protect your time, energy, and your emotional well-being. Sometimes the healthiest response is simply not right now. Second, give yourself permission to rest. Rest is not lazy. Rest is restoration. Research continues to show us, I had to giggle on that one because, you can hear some stories behind that. Research continues to show that quality rest helps improve emotional well being, reduces stress, and allows us to respond more effectively to life's challenges. Third, practice self compassion. Many of us are kinder to others than we are to ourselves. And this is so true. When you experience disappointment, ask yourself, would I say these same words to someone I care about? If the answer is no, then don't say them to yourself. Finally, nurture healthy relationships. One of the greatest protective factors for our emotional well being is meaningful connections. We all need people who encourage us, challenge us, and remind us of our worth during difficult seasons. Now, I'd like you to pause and reflect for a moment. What have I been doing to care for everyone else while neglecting myself? Think about that. Now, I'm going to say, think about it for a second because I want to keep moving on. But I want you to hold on to that, bring it down, because I want you to go back and reflect on that later if you don't have time to really, delve deep into it, because it may just kind of take you for a moment, or it may take you for a loop while you're thinking about it also. And then ask, I have another one for you, and then ask, what's one thing I can do this week to better care for my own mental wellness? Now, I know that's going to take you, probably going to pause and step back on that one. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't. Trust me, it doesn't. Take a walk, read a book, call a friend, spend a few moments in a prayer or reflection, if that's something that works for you. Or just simply give yourself permission to rest. So, hey, I have a Dare to Soar practice for you. I call them Dare to Soar practices. This week, schedule one appointment with yourself. You owe it to yourself. Protect the time the same way you would protect any important meetings. Because this is about you now. Remember that. Because your mental wellness deserves to be the priority, not an afterthought. But remember at the same time, protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's not, it's essential. Because when we care for ourselves, we're better equipped to care for others. True. And speaking of caring for others, what if one of the greatest gifts we can offer another person is simply helping them feel seen? Feel seen, which is going to lead me in to what I'm going to dive into with you next. And that's helping others feel seen. You see how I'm looping all of this together to our topic? I'm looping it in. And that's what I'm going to dive into next is helping others feel seen. And I just want to wrap it back in because so far we've spent time talking about ourselves and our thoughts, our emotions, and ways to protect our mental wellness. But what if one of the greatest ways to create healthier and more a compassionate world is simply by helping others feel seen? You see, the truth is every day we encounter people who may be carrying burdens we know nothing about. And that's the reality. Whether it's a coworker who always smiles, or if a teacher who's always smiling, or a teacher who just simply stays late as well. It may be that school bus driver who greets every child every morning. Maybe a custodian who quietly prepares the building before school arrives. Administrator, a parent. Think about that. Neighbors, be neighbors as well. A neighbor who lives alone. And sometimes neighbors can camouflage that they're living alone because they're prideful. They don't want you to know what's going on. Sometimes it could be people who just simply appear to be doing their very best, are the ones who just need some encouragement, for the most part. Someone in leadership who isn't always standing at the front of the room, standing at the front of the room. Sometimes it's looking like they're being noticed, everyone else. It looks like learning someone's name or just simply saying thank you and offering a genuine compliment as well, or simply asking, how are you truly doing? Or how are you really? And taking the time to listen. It's time for a break. I wanted you to hold on to that. When we return, I'm going to give you some research, what research says. Be right back after this commercial break.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to Dare to Soar. Yes, I am your host, Dr. RC. Right before the break, I shared that I wanted to provide you with some research. So here's some research. Research consistently reminds us that positive relationships, gratitude, and social connection contributes to emotional well-being. Small acts of kindness may seem ordinary to some, but they can have extraordinary impact to others, to a person's day, and sometimes on their lives. You may be the first person that gave that small act of kindness. It will light up a person's day. I'll never underestimate the power of a few encouraging words. Throughout my own journey, there have been people who believed in me, encouraged me, and reminded me of my purpose during seasons when I needed it most. I'm sure that many can relate to that. Those are moments that taught me that we never truly know the impact of our own words and what they can have. As we continue to move forward, I just like to reflect on this question. Who in your life might need to feel seen today? Perhaps it may be a colleague, a family member, friend, student, etc. Or maybe it's just someone you pass every day just without really even realizing it. So, of course, I've named these Dare to Soar practices. So, also this week, I want you to intentionally encourage one person and just to say thank you, whether you write them a note, send a text, make a phone call, or simply remind someone I see you. I appreciate you. You matter. You see, those simple words may become the encouragement they've needed, they've been waiting on. And as you prepare, just let them know those things. Sometimes that first step, reclaiming their own worth, is recognizing what they need. It helps them to recognize and gives them a breath of fresh air as well. As I continue on and we give them that breath of fresh air, this helps them to reclaim their worth and helps you to reclaim your worth as well. Throughout today's conversation, we've talked about many things, the importance of feeling seen, but I want to ask you a different question. What happens when no one notices? What happens when when the applause don't come, the promotion, when your hard work is unrecognized? Do you begin with the question of worth, or do you remember who you are? Do you have to be reminded of that? One of the greatest lessons I've learned myself is that while encouragement from others is meaningful, our self worth cannot depend solely on external validation. It can't. There will be seasons when people overlook your contributions, but those moments should never define how we see ourselves or how you see yourselves either. That's why I created my Reclaim Your Power journal, and I don't have a copy with me on hand right now, but you can purchase it on Amazon.com. And you've heard me speak about the journal before, but it is a source of empowerment and reflection. The journal is. It's designed to help people pause and reflect and reconnect with themselves, strengthen their purpose as well, and resilience they already possess within inside of them. It's just a reminder of those things. You see, sometimes we become so focused on what we haven't accomplished that we forget to celebrate how far we've come. So I'd like to invite you just to take a few moments this week to reflect on three questions from your very own journey. What strengths have you overcome in difficult seasons? That's the first question. How have I made a positive difference in someone's life, even if no one acknowledged it? What is one thing I appreciate about myself that I have that has nothing to do with my job title, accomplishments, or someone else's approval? Those are some powerful, powerful questions. They are definitely things to reflect on because they shift our focus from seeking validation to recognizing our own path. Here's another Dare to Soar practice. This week, spend at least 10 minutes writing in a journal. I would hope that you would purchase mine, but if not, celebrate one quiet victory, acknowledge one personal strength, and write one affirmation that reminds you of your worth. Perhaps it is as simple as I matter. My life has purpose. My contribution makes a difference. Never underestimate the power of speaking truth over your own life. As we move into our final segment, I want to leave you with this thought as well. The first step in helping others to see their worth is believing your own, and you have to. When you think about all that has been shared, invisible doesn't mean insignificant. It doesn't. And that's why feeling seen matters more than we think. As we are moving towards our final segment, I hope that today's conversation has reminded you of one important truth. Just because you feel unseen doesn't mean you are insignificant. It does not. There will be moments in your life when your efforts go unnoticed, when your kindness isn't acknowledged, when your leadership isn't celebrated, when your sacrifices aren't fully understood as well. But none of those moments diminish your value. And I want you to really, really hear me when I tell you that your worth is not determined by someone else's recognition. It's always been found in who you are, how you live, and the difference you make in the lives of others. Today, we've talked about various things about why your feeling seen matters. We've discussed how you represent the experiences and the feelings overlooked, and how it can influence the way you think about and how we think about ourselves. We've explored practical ways to protect our mental wellness, strengthen healthy self-esteem, and extend kindness and encouragement to others. And perhaps the greatest lesson in this is here. What we have the ability to help someone else feel seen also. Never underestimate the power of a smile, a kind word, a handwritten note, a phone call, or simply taking moments to say, I appreciate you and thank you. You matter. You see, those words may seem simple to you, but hey, they could mean everything to someone else. I also want to remind you that your purpose is far greater than public recognition. And not every meaningful contribution receives applause, and not every kindness is acknowledged as well. You have to be reminded of those things also. It's time for another commercial break. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back once again. Oh my gosh, it is time for my close out. That time goes by so quickly. As we come to a close for today's conversation, I want to leave you with a final thought here. There will be seasons when we feel overlooked, moments when your efforts go unnoticed, and you quietly wonder, does anyone really see me? If you've ever felt that way, I want you to hear this. Feeling invisible does not mean you're insignificant. Your worth has never been determined by someone else's ability or inability to recognize your value. Your purpose has never depended on applause, a title, award, public recognition. Some of the greatest acts of kindness have happened quietly. Some of the strongest leaders serve without seeking recognition. And some of the greatest meaningful contributions have made by people whose names may never appear in headlines, yet their impact is felt for generations. Today, we've talked about why feeling seen matters, not because of feeds, ego, but because it reminds us that we matter, that we belong, and that our lives have purpose. Before we end, I want to leave you with this week's Dare to Soar challenge. This week, intentionally help someone feel seen. Write a thank you note, as I've shared earlier. Send an encouraging text. Call someone you've been thinking about. Tell them that you appreciate them. Say thank you. You matter. I can't say that enough. And don't forget to extend that same grace to yourself. Open your Reclaim Your Power journal, hint, hint, and reflect on those 3 questions. What strengths did I demonstrate this week? How did I positively impact someone's life? What is one thing I appreciate about myself that has nothing to do with my accomplishments or someone else's approval as well? Remember, your quiet victories deserve to be celebrated too. Finally, if you're struggling with persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, or emotional distress, please reach out to a trusted friend, healthcare provider, or licensed mental health professional as well. Seeking support is courageous act of self-care. You don't have to stand in the spotlight to make a difference. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to have influence. And you don't have to receive constant recognition to know that your life matters. Your presence matters, your kindness, your service, and you matter. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Dare to Soar. Until next time, take care and protect your peace. Believe in your purpose. And remember, invisible does not mean insignificant. It means your impact may be bigger than you realize. Always remember that. And one last thing, never be afraid to elevate to new heights as you spread your wings and dare to soar. One last thing I'd like to say, I have created a Dare to Soar wellness toolkit that I will be sharing. I will probably come back on social media to let you know when that's posted, and you will have access to it. It is a free little mini toolkit with some resources and some tips that will be available to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you as always for your support. Be safe, take care, be blessed. Thank you once again. I am Dr. RC, and this has been Dare to Soar.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.